Today I want to talk about purpose, motivation, and trouble sticking with just one thing. So, specifically, I coach a lot of NTP types, ENTPs, INTPs, also NFPs, and other types who have a lot of different interests, a wide variety of hobbies, and they love learning, and they quickly get bored with one thing. There can be a pattern of really diving deep into one subject, exploring it in a huge amount of detail and nuance, really passionately, and then suddenly getting bored and wanting to move on to something else, the next shiny thing, right? Again and again. And so when people like us have so many different interests, it can be really hard to just stick with one thing for a long time and to figure out what is our life purpose. What is kind of that one thing that is supposed to drive you for a long time, right? Um, and so a lot of people come to me with this problem. It's probably the number one challenge that NTPs especially come to me with. I feel stuck in my life because I like too many things. I can't just choose one. I run out of motivation. I run out of energy, run out of passion, always moving on to the next thing. How do I settle for just one thing? So I've helped dozens and dozens of people with this. And here's what I've come to believe. I think that there are really three core components to this. So the first one is accepting that if you are this type of person, this is probably never going to change. For the rest of your life, you are going to be dealing with some variation of this challenge. And I know that's really hard to accept, especially if you're someone, one of these personality types, someone like me, who loves learning, who loves personal growth, loves solving complex problems, right? You want to figure this out. You want to read more books, listen to more podcasts, get more therapy or coaching or whatever it is so you can finally solve this problem and learn how to just stick with one thing, right? That was me for a lot of my life, so I very much understand that desire. And unfortunately, I think it's a fool's errand. And this is one reason why I integrate personality typing so much into my coaching and counseling practice, because different minds are organized very differently. And so, that is possible for some types of minds, to just stick with one thing, do that over and over again without getting bored, right? But for people like you and me, our minds work differently, and that has pros and cons. So the con is, you're going to get bored easily, you're going to get distracted by the next shiny thing, and that's hard sometimes. But the pro is that you are someone who can be the jack of all trades, the generalist, the person who can zoom out and see the big picture and connect the dots between different data sources, different types of things, and synthesize it into something innovative. So whatever job you do or hobby you do or passion project, whatever it is, you're not just going to be the person who does that. No matter what it is, whatever job you're doing, other types might be able to just fully be that. I am a programmer. I am a massage therapist. Whatever it is, that's my whole identity. But for you, you're not just going to be a programmer. You're going to be someone who can maybe communicate more effectively with the marketing people or the design people, or, you can kind of see more of the emerging software development trends or integrate AI or whatever it is, right? So this is a unique talent of yours that it's kind of a two sides of the same coin, right? Sometimes it's an impediment, but it also makes you awesome. So I think that the first thing is to recognize that it's hard, but it's also great. And that if you keep trying to change this, if you keep imagining that it's going to change, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And instead, if you accept the reality that this is just a core challenge that you're continually going to be dancing with for the rest of your life, then it enables you to accept it and work around it. And there are different ways to work around it. So the second piece, or the second point, is that I think you need to orient around what is really most important to you. And that will change throughout your life. Maybe if you're younger, what's most important to you is skill development or networking or, making money, whatever it is. Maybe when you're at a certain age, what's really important to you is being a good parent or caring for your aging parents or, being a more ethical person, whatever. It might shift throughout your life. And so really checking in with what are your values right now? What feels most alive for you right now? What feels most important to you right now? And is the way that you're spending your time, is the hobby or the job or whatever that you're focusing a lot of your time and energy on in line with that value or that purpose or that thing that you're trying to cultivate, that thing that you're trying to optimize for, right? If right now you're really trying to build as much wealth as possible, then is the way that you're spending your time actually working you toward making wealth, right? Or if you're really at a point right now where you're focusing on ethics or spiritual development or being a better person, no matter what job you're doing, you don't have to be working for a nonprofit, right? You could be working any job, but are you focusing on being an ethical person, showing up every day at work and caring for your team members, offering compassion, right? Just smiling at people or, being kind in small ways. And then the third point here is, can you find kind of an umbrella topic that has many possibilities under it that you can switch between when you get bored? So an example for me is, I'll read you my latest life purpose statement that I've come up with, or mission statement. I am the pathfinder who investigates uncommon paths toward deep personal growth and awakening. Awakening in the Zen Buddhist sense, which means seeing more of the truth of reality and selfhood. I model and teach the most effective paths that I've found in order to guide others toward greater aliveness, self-awareness, and alignment with their unique life purposes. So it wasn't easy to get to that statement. It took many months of effort and many drafts. This is probably the 20-something version of that particular statement. And so what you might notice here is that on the one hand, it's pretty broad. It's basically saying, I love learning. I want to keep exploring different paths of living a good life. I want to keep trying different things, exploring unconventional ways. And then I want to find the best ones and model them myself for others to show them what's possible and teach others so they can find their own life purpose and live an awesome life for themselves. So broadly, it's basically saying, I love learning, I love teaching, I love helping others. Right? And so that is a pretty broad umbrella. There are many ways I can learn and teach and help others. So it's okay for me to switch between different things that are under that same umbrella. But then my statement is also pretty specific, right? It's saying that I don't just want to teach in general. I want to teach specifically about personal growth and deep awakening. So not just about how to be more productive, how to make more money, but how to really awaken to more of the fundamental existential truth of reality and selfhood, to really examine yourself, build your introspection, your self-awareness, to figure out who are you really? What is really important to you with being alive? How do you really want to approach life? Right? That kind of inquiry is what I want to model for others and help them discover for themselves. And so that can lead me in specific directions under that larger umbrella. And so a tangible example of this is that for years I should say first, I guess, I decided I was going to write a book. And I spent a few years making slow and steady progress to that, but over time it just felt like I was kind of like walking through mud. It was just this, it didn't feel easeful. It just felt like I was pulling teeth. Like every time I sat down to write, it just felt like, oh, this again. Oh, I was putting so much pressure on myself to integrate every major lesson I've learned in my years of personal growth. And I was looking back at all these old journal entries and trying to extract all these key points. And it just felt like, oh, so much work I'm putting on myself, so much pressure. So finally, I abandoned that and I switched to blogging. And that felt a lot more easeful. I can just do short form content, a lot less pressure on myself. And I even went through a whole thing of challenging myself for 30 days to publish something every single day. And that forced me to write very short things that were not perfect. I just kind of released the best that I had. And so writing the book and doing the blog posts were the same umbrella, right? Teaching people what I've learned about personal growth, but the blogging suddenly felt easier. And then after doing that for a couple of years, it started to feel less fun. Started to feel like, okay, this is just work. This is the thing that I have to do every week. And so I explored, well, what are some other ways of teaching, of expressing myself, of sharing my knowledge? And then I decided, what if I make videos? And so that's when I started YouTubing. And so right when I started YouTubing, I made a rule for myself that I'm not allowed to edit. I'm just going to hit record without writing a script or anything. I'm just going to speak off the top of my head, and whatever comes out, comes out. If I stumble, I stumble. And then I'm just going to hit upload. No editing. And that made it easy. It made it easy enough that I'm willing to do it, and it doesn't feel like a lot of work. Whereas if I were too perfectionist and I decided it had to look a certain way, it had to be a certain level of perfect, I would not be releasing these videos, because it would take me hours and hours to produce one video instead of just 20 minutes, right? And so that's kind of the trick, is all three of these, right? The book, the blog, the videos are all doing the same thing. They're all the same values, the same purpose, but different mediums. So they feel different enough that it rejuvenates my motivation each time, and it feels novel enough that I can kind of trick my brain into not being bored anymore, even though I'm basically doing the same thing, just in different ways. And you can see how each time, too, I'm noticing a problem with the previous way. This was what felt hard about it, and how can I remove that? How can I make it easier on myself? So I'm always asking, how can I be effective? How can I do the thing that I love, the thing that helps others, but make it as easy as possible? How can I remove yet another barrier to make it even easier for myself? All right. So the three things again are: understand this is just how you're wired. This is just how your mind works. So accept that. It's probably not going to change. Number 2, get clear on your values, your some kind of general purpose. What makes you feel alive, what you want to be contributing to the world. And if you need help with that, that's one of the things that I coach people a lot with, helping them figure out their purpose. And is there some way that you can do a type of work that is aligned with that, even a small way, right? Even showing up at whatever job and being the way that you want to be in the world, right? Kind of spreading something in the world. And number 3, how can you figure out something that is kind of a large enough umbrella thing that there are many possibilities under it that you can be switching between to not get bored? And each time you make that switch, how can you remove more barriers, make it even more easeful for you? All right, I hope that helps. Let me know how it goes, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And if you'd like one-on-one support with this, check out my website at michaelcallows.com. And I hope you have a nourishing day.